So I invite you to take in a deep breath. And as you breathe in spirit. And if you can hold your breath for 4 seconds, or the count of 4, and then on the exhale, if you breathe out, my beloved. So I'm inviting you to do this 2 more times with me, please. Breathing in, feel the presence of spirit, fill your being. And on the exhale, we breathe out, my beloved. Inhale, I breathe in spirit. And on the exhale, we breathe out, my beloved. So sit back and relax and let these words comfort you. I invite you to drink them in if you so choose and make them your own. Life is a consciousness of God. Life is consciousness is a common statement made by New Thought religious community. These 3 words express a fundamental truth principle. There is a direct relationship between our thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs, between what happens in our life. We are not powerless pawns whose experience is determined by other people and worldly conditions. We are responsible for what happens to us. Each of us could have authored William Ernest Henley's poem Invictus, which concludes, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Life is consciousness has been a powerful ally to countless thousands of people who seek to express dominion over their circumstances. This masterful approach is not the conclusion of the story on successful living, but actually a prelude to a closer walk with spirit. New insights into truth cause us to redefine life. Most will agree life is more than things we experience. The truth is, life is not consciousness. Experience is consciousness, and life, vibrant, dynamic life, as it is meant to be, is a consciousness of spirit. Life is not what happens to us. It is not of the earth. There may be existence, but there is no life, powerful and limitless, unless we are conscious of spirit. It is for this reason we say prayer is life, for prayer is a consciousness of God. Let us remember that any state of mind manifests itself as our experience. Imagine the quality of our relationships when our attitudes about people are grounded in an awareness of divine love. Imagine the security we feel when a consciousness of spirit is our supply. Imagine what our experience would be like if we were continuously aware of the presence. These imaginings are a part of the closer walk with spirit. And now I invite you to join with me. I have an affirmation, and I'm going to say it once, and then I will invite you to join me in saying it. I am not alone. God is with me each moment of the day and night. So all together, we affirm, I am not alone. God is with me each moment of the day and night. And now I introduce our infamous leader, Barbara, Reverend Barbara Schreiner Trudell, as she brings us this wonderful message of letting it be. And I hope you enjoy it. Well, I know you will. There's no hoping about it. I'm excited. And now we prepare to listen with excitement and enthusiasm to Reverend Barbara. Bring it on.
Thanks, Rev Emmy. Well, the talk is letting go and letting in. And, we've been talking about vulnerability, and really being vulnerable is a big part of that process of surrender. And of course, if we want to move from one phase of being into another, the idea of vulnerability, or having the courage to move through whatever difficulty is there for us, is actually essential to that shift in consciousness. And I know letting go and letting in, much easier said than done for the most part. But wholeness requires that we are willing to be vulnerable, that we're willing to be real, that we're willing to look at, all the aspects of ourselves, so that we can come to see ourselves in a new light. So we look at the areas of ourselves that we love to show the world because it's what we're proud of, or what we approve of, or what we like. And then there's an aspect of us that what we call our dark side, that we keep hidden. And the truth is that we actually need to bring all of it forward in order for the whole self to be fully realized. As I was reading this week, I was reading Dr. Michael Beckwith, and he wrote, "To surrender is to yield to the next stage of your evolution." Ooh, yes. We evolve by allowing ourselves to kind of surrender within into that understanding of this intelligence that's within us, that maybe we have been resisting or setting aside or ignoring. That happens a lot. He says, deconstructing the false self and uncovering the authentic self is an intimate process. And it's really important in identifying the I am that we really are. So, when you think about the butterfly, the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, dissolves into the nothingness, and comes out as the butterfly. And we know that the butterfly doesn't contradict the caterpillar. It is a natural stage of its unfoldment. And so it is with us, that as we evolve from one way of being into another way of being, it's really important that we acknowledge or discover who we really are in that process. And I think that's a lot of the work that we do, is that internal work within ourselves. So, there's kind of three things. There's a knowing, there's an allowing, and then there's an opening. And the knowing is that, we're wanting to look at ourselves a little more gently than maybe we have been in the past, to be less judgmental and critical, but to observe all aspects of our being, so that we can knit it all together, bring it all together, so that there's a sense of possibility in all the things that we do, that we're showing up honestly and authentically, that we're standing in this moment being who we really are, rather than sort of trying to figure out how to make people like us, or how to be acceptable to others. And I think that's part of the journey that we struggle with. Allowing is that willingness to be vulnerable, that allowing all aspects of ourselves to be seen, to allow the fullest expression. So we got to knock down the walls that we build around our hearts and minds. We have to move that out of the way, so that we can begin to allow the truth of who we are come through and be seen. And there's an openness that's required. And that's that whole vulnerability, where we get real honest with ourselves, and therefore we get a little more comfortable with those around us. Vulnerability opens the door for all of the experiences of life to rush in. And that's not to say that all of these ones are going to be fun. They might not be, but our ability to open up and to allow what happens is the good and the, uncomfortable of it all of it is actually moving us to a place of our greater possibility. So we're really looking at how can we show up in wholeness? That's what we're working toward here. So part of my journey has been journaling. I do a lot of journaling. And what I found in the process of journaling is that it allows me to get a sense of what's actually going on for me in any given moment, whether I'm feeling angry and frustrated, annoyed, or if I'm feeling excited, delighted, and uplifted. Whatever it is about me taking time to write. And so in the writing process, I write stream of consciousness. And I do that because it helps me to get past the ego barrier that tends to only want to put down on paper what's nice and what I think is right, rather than just allowing life to flow through that pen. So the practices that we do are essential to us moving into a new state of being. When we surrender what was, and I think our whole spiritual journey is about forgetting what we think we know, right? We've been raised in a way as to live from the subjective ideas that have been given to us in those first 6 years. So if you take the first 6 years of life and decide and notice that that is the blueprint for us moving forward, reflect back on it. What was that experience like, if you can remember? The people who gave you the beliefs and things that are running behind the scenes, because remember, the subjective part of our being, that's the part that says yes. So if we are living in a state of, well, I don't know, this, that, whatever, we're a little wishy-washy, what happens is underneath, there is a firm mandate that is going to be acted upon. The universe only ever says yes, and it says yes to what I predominantly believe. And what I predominantly believe may not even be something I'm aware of. It could be something so far below the surface that I don't even know it's there. So how do we dismantle some of this? And part of it is just to look at where life is today. Look at what's going on in your life. Are you satisfied and fulfilled? Are you earning the amount of money you'd like to earn? Are you doing the work you'd love to do? Are you expressing with great joy and appreciation and gratitude? Or are you maybe struggling a little bit with what's next? Is there a part of you that feels that you can't really open up to the people around you because if you did, they might not accept you? Or maybe it's not even them that you're worried about. Maybe it's about accepting yourself. See, this journey of letting go and letting in means we've got to let go of the stories, the old programming. We've got to let go of the things that have defined us up to this moment so that we can allow in that inspiration, that divine inspiration that bubbles up from within, that suggests who we truly are, the I am presence, where that consciousness of the one is fully revealed in and through us, where we let the ego take a rest. You know, that part of us that thinks it knows it all, the part of us that really has a sense of, I am, I'm the master, I can control everything. But letting that go and getting into that higher consciousness, that higher part of ourselves, that greater vibration that will actually lead us through any difficulty or challenge and take us into a place of real and lasting joy and comfort and peace in the world. Now, it doesn't mean that everything's going to be roses every day, but it does mean that there'll be a sense of fulfillment as we journey along. The idea of wholeness, the wholeness is that, I've come to understand who I really am, that I'm willing to accept the mistakes that I've made, that I'm willing to look at the areas of myself that maybe I judge wrong and bad, and I'm willing to be with those things and to sit back and say, you know what, I'm going to just embrace all of me. And I'm going to find a way to do that. And of course, we do that through self-love. We have to begin where we are. And so as we look at our life and we look at what it is we would like to create, the only place we can work is in consciousness. We have to start where we are. We can't change the world out here. The world out here is an effect of something that's already been done. So if we can see it, touch and feel it, it's from the past. If we can see it, touch it and feel it, it's from the past. Okay? Because every idea forms into manifestation, but first it's an idea. So when we go back to the beginning, when we go back to that place of, what is it I really want out of life? Maybe I want greater fulfillment. Maybe I want a new career. Maybe I want to experience more love or more joy. Whatever it is, there's a part of me that says yes to that. However, if there is an underlying belief of not feeling worthy or not feeling valuable or valued or not feeling connected, then of course those beliefs interrupt whatever it is that we're putting out. Now, as we're doing affirmations, a great way to interrupt old programming and create a new mantra, as Rev M.E. Gave us, an affirmation in the beginning there, what we want to do is create affirmations. So one of the exercises that I was reading about earlier today was about taking the affirmation and writing it out really clearly and remembering first person, present tense, positive. Okay. I am health, I am love, I am peace, I am wealth, I am joy. It should be in the first person, present tense, and positive. When we do that, we write it out nice and clear. The writer of the book I was reading suggested, well, then take it and read it aloud. Read it aloud to yourself. Read it 3 times over. So you see it, you hear it, and you get to speak it and verbalize it. So you're, engaging all of these aspects of yourself. Then to sit back and record it and then listen to the recording. And again, you're getting it in another way. And the key is to take this affirmation and to feel it at the depths of your being, to allow it become a part of you, that as you're saying it over and over again, there becomes a kind of a click inside of you that says, yes, 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 this is it. This is, I feel right about this. The interesting thing is when all of our doubts and worries and all of those things that cause us to not really believe in what we really want, all of that idea gets put to rest when we get into a place of firm acceptance of a new idea. But the only way we get there is to let go of the old and to allow in the new. So for example, when I quit smoking years ago, the interesting thing was that I quit immediately, that I never once had a craving, never smoked since. It's coming up to 40 years. But the idea that switched it was, this is the temple of the divine, and I do not have the right to kill it. It was in the moment that I accepted that as my truth that everything prior to that went by the wayside. It was gone. I butted that last cigarette, never touched one since, but never craved one either. And I smoked 4 packs a day. So it was heavy duty stuff. The journey that we're on is really about looking at the life we would like to be living and to imagine for a moment that it's possible. From there, to create statements of truth that allow us to shift the old belief so that we can allow in something new. It really does require that we let go of the programming that has brought us to now. Not all of it probably, but maybe a good portion of it. The stories we were told as young children, how many times were we told no? How many times were we told something was inappropriate, that we shouldn't say things that way, that we shouldn't look this way or talk this way or be this energetic or this loud, or, right, the stories that children get. I know I heard plenty of them. If we allow those to continue running us today, and many of us have, then what happens is our life reflects a struggle that can be ongoing, or we make a concerted effort to rewrite the programming. Doesn't take a minute. It doesn't take a day. It usually takes a bit more than that. They say 28 days to a new habit, or, somebody else says 60 days to a new habit, 90 days to a new habit. Well, repetitive spiritual practice will create a new habit. And so we want to take our day-to-day life and add in these spiritual aspects. So I talked earlier about journaling. I've just spoke about affirmations. By combining these two things, we begin to, dismantle some of that old programming that we received that isn't serving the life that we want to live now. It isn't bringing us into our wholeness. It's keeping us in that place of separation, that somehow there's something outside of me controlling my existence, when in fact, what's really controlling it is an inner set of beliefs, attitudes, or acceptances about what life is and what it could be. And ultimately, we always get to be right. Whatever it is we focus on, whatever it is, when we're living in fear and worry and doubt, fear, worry, and doubt are what are manifesting around us. And we get to be right about all of the little inconveniences and stuff that come. But when we switch that, when we turn that around and we go, wait a minute, I keep repeating these patterns. I don't know if you've ever noticed in your life that there are certain patterns that might be repetitive. And if they're repetitive, at some point in time, we have to stand up and say, no more, I'm done. And it's in the moment when we really acknowledge that we begin to see the changes occurring. And they can happen rapidly at that point, or they can take their time. It happens when it happens. But when a clear understanding is realized, when a new idea is fully accepted, change occurs. It's like a click, something happens. So for example, I've talked about healing my back. That happened last June. I went from using a walker and a wheelchair to walking. I can walk a number of kilometers by myself on my own, no problem. I do my workouts every day, and my body's strong and healthy, and I don't have pain. How did that happen? Well, number one, it wasn't just in a moment, although it felt that way at the time. It was doing my affirmations, doing my spiritual mind treatment, doing my spiritual work on a daily basis to get in sync with what was going on. And it was in the moment that I was on my way to Unity Village when I went, hey, wait a minute. If the head of the silent unity in the beginning there could heal her life in the 1800s, surely I can do it today. There was no opposing idea, to that belief. That new belief was so strong, so immediate, that within 4 days, all pain was gone, all difficulty was gone, and it still is. So we're coming up. It'll be a year in June. The idea is that nothing happens without our participation. And when we look at the life that we've been living and maybe the challenges we've been facing, we have to come to understand that we're not to blame for the way our life looks right now, but we do have the ability to participate in the shift and the change. And what's required is that we move out of the collective race conscious belief into something that is more in alignment with what we really believe to be true for ourselves. Who am I really? And so, we take our journaling and we take our affirmations and we maybe do spiritual mind treatment on a regular basis and meditation. And what I love about meditation is in sitting in the silence every day, what happens is I begin to notice, I don't know about you, but my mind will run a little rampant during meditation sometimes. What's this? What's that? What's the other thing? So what I want to do is when I'm in my meditation practice, I want to notice where my thoughts go, but at the same time, quiet them down when they come. So I might do something like, when a thought comes rolling in, I'll go, thinking. Let it go back to my breathing, go back to my mantra, go back to the chant, whatever it is that I'm using to focus my attention, because that's what we're doing in meditation. We're focusing our attention so that instead of our mind running rampant, we are actually giving it a task to try and get a little more focused with it, because as we focus our mind, we begin to focus the results that come. We begin to create something wonderful that maybe we didn't even know we were looking for. I want to share with you something that was written by let me just find it here quickly. So Bruce Lipton, scientist, pretty great guy, talks about, he wrote the foreword to a book by Michael Beckwith. And he said the fundamental behavioral programs in our subconscious minds were acquired during the formative period between gestation and 6 years of age. The subconscious mind's activities are always fixed in the present moment. Now, you probably noticed that your conscious mind is kind of jumping around all over the place, right? It's like in the past, it's in the future. What if, maybe this, oh, remember when? Like that's going on all the time. He goes on to say in here, according to neuroscientists, we only use our conscious mind about 5% of the time in controlling our lives. Therefore, most of our decisions, actions, emotions, and behavior are derived from the programs in the subconscious mind. And what's in the subconscious mind? What was planted from 0 to age 6. He said, since the fundamental behavioral patterns in the subconscious mind are primarily derived from others, it becomes clear that we are not living our lives. We are living other people's lives. Adding insult to injury, we engage these limiting, disempowering behaviors because our conscious minds are not present. And as a consequence, we are generally unaware our actions are self-sabotaging. Well, sounds like something I can agree with. So the things that are happening in our life that feel completely out of our control, well, maybe in a sense they originally were, because they were ideas given to us when we were too young to argue, to create a different plan. And so we had these, these giant people around us who said, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do the other thing. This is good, that is bad. No, 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 no. And we really saw them kind of like a god, right? Parents, all seeing, all knowing, and everywhere present, especially when you're doing something wrong, right? So we've got this programming running, and we're looking at our lives and we're going, wow, it really feels a bit messy, a bit out of control. How did it get like this? I'm not thinking this way. I'm not thinking about bad things happening. Why are they happening? There's stuff hidden in that belief system that we want to change. So when we get into meditation, when we get into affirmations, when we start journaling, what we do is we start to unearth some of those beliefs. What we do is we create a new seed to plant. Our spiritual mind treatments or our affirmative prayers are, a way of speaking into our own mind a greater idea, a greater vision, a greater possibility. We begin to change the trajectory of our lives, not by magic, not by mystery, but rather by beginning to think along new lines, to begin to think in a new way. And it is in thinking in a new way that we begin to create a new reality. Life is not happening to us. It is actually happening through us. And we have the power to alter it, move it, change it, expand it, grow it, whatever we can believe, we can create. Thomas Troward said that the subjective mind or subconscious mind is the doer. And that if we would just say to it, hey, look, here's what I need you to do. Now just get on it, get it done, and do it in my name. And by making that demand, the subconscious mind, of course, which can't think or change or decide, it only ever says yes, is then going to act upon that new belief. So just like when I changed my thinking to, whoa, this is the temple of God, I don't get to kill it. In that moment, smoking was gone. In the moment that I accepted that, hey, I can heal my body, boom, within 4 days, all illness was gone. The journey that we're on is about acknowledging and recognizing how powerful we really are. But in order to get there, we have to let go of what it is that we've bought into in the past. We have to begin to really explore what it is we believe. And when we're in meditation and our mind is wandering rampant, which it sometimes does, we just want to be aware of what it's doing and gently bringing ourselves back to the chant or the breath or the word thinking, whatever brings us back into the present moment. The subconscious mind only creates in the present moment. We can only create in this present now moment. So as we acknowledge the power and presence of this one infinite creative intelligence, and as we begin to work with it, we start to see that whatever it is we can imagine for our lives, we in fact can create. Scientifically, it is proven that whoever is observing an experiment scientifically, by their consciousness changes it. And the reason it changes is because everything is energy. There is no place where energy is not. So if we think, we can call it energy, we can call it God, we can call it universe, we can call it higher power, we can call it the beloved, whatever name you want to give to this unknowable dynamic that is all of creation, whatever we want to call it, that is the creative force of the universe. That is the energy that always has been, was never created, and can never cease to exist, but is constantly moving from one form to another. And the way that it moves is through our consciousness. We are the way that it expresses. And so, in a sense, it needs us in order to experience. And the experiences that we have are neither good nor bad. They're simply experiences, because in the idea of this one infinite intelligence where all things are, where all things exist, where there is no beginning or end, there is just the eternal shifting, moving from form to matter, like from thought to matter, back to thought. All of it is constantly evolving, changing, moving. As we come to understand that, we start to see that there's a whole lot more going on that we don't fully understand, that is beyond the comprehension of our finite experience. But from an intuitive place, we might come to accept it as something more than we've ever known before. For myself, as I've been journeying through this life journey, there have been moments where I have had a glimpse of, I don't know, the other side, something beyond what we can see, touch, and feel. Name it whatever you want to name it. I don't think we can actually know it. It's beyond our comprehension. But it is a knowing of something powerful that is not separate from us, but is in fact being us. That it is the energy of life that we are. And Bruce Lipton, in his book Biology of Belief, talks about how our beliefs become manifest. We are powerful creators. If we think back to all of the great spiritual teachers in the world, it's like there's always been this idea that there's only one thing going on. There's only one thing. There's nothing that can oppose it. And because of this one thing that I am some part of, then I am the individualized expression of it, but I have the attributes of it. So when you think of a wave on the ocean, we know the wave is ocean water, right? It can't be anything else. So if we are an expression of this infinite, eternal one, then we are it. We are the expression of it. We are that wave of it. And so not separate from and not different than, but fully equipped with all of the attributes of this creative energy. whether we call it God or spirit or universe, first cause, cosmos, the beloved, the absolute, whatever name we use to express it, we cannot begin to know it. And yet it is something that we are using constantly, every moment of every hour of every day. What we think about, we bring about. What we think about and believe in becomes manifest. Our life follows a journey of potential as thought becomes matter, as the intelligence of the universe becomes manifest through the thinking that we bring into place. And so our wholeness is something that can only happen as we come to understand ourselves at a deeper level. And are we willing to do that? Are we willing to just relax into life and go, yes, here I am. Here I am. Take it or leave it. Here I am. When each one of us can come to a place of accepting our authentic voice, our authentic gifts, when we begin to see ourselves as some aspect of something bigger, when we start to acknowledge that we are not separate from, we are not some broken, flawed piece of equipment, but rather we are the infinite made manifest in our current reality. And we have the ability to look at it in different ways. We have the ability to breathe life into what we're seeing and feeling. We have the ability to shine a light within our own hearts and ask the question, who am I? What are my gifts? What is unique about me? What is it about me that is so essential to the unfolding of the universe right now? What is it that I bring, or how do I show up? There have been many great people over the years who've done many great things. But every one of us is a piece of that greatness. Every one of us is an aspect of that divine consciousness that's manifesting here. And there are no mistakes or accidents. So every one of us is essential. We're all essential to the unfolding of the universe at this time. That what we are and what we bring and how we bring it actually really, really matters. And wholeness includes the part of us that we want to hide and the part of us that we kind of like and what we're willing to show or not show. That as we come to simply come to terms with our own self, I think that's what happened. You know, if you were to read the Bible and you take a look at the journey of the man Jesus, he went 40 days into the wilderness. And I think those 40 days are like, who am I? That journey that we go into of trying to find ourselves. Because in finding ourselves and accepting and loving what we find, even if we don't necessarily like it, but loving it, we begin to then live in a way that is not only good for us, but is good for all of humanity. We change the story of life by creating something that is truly, truly beautiful and remarkable, even if it sometimes feels chaotic. And when you look at the world today, we are in very interesting times. It used to be that silence was, you know, the great language of humanity, but not so much anymore. People are speaking out. People are standing up. People are choosing to stand up for one another. There's a whole movement toward shifting consciousness in such a way as to create a greater sense of belonging, not for some people, but for all people. And not just for people, but for animal life and plant life to come to a oneness with the planet in which we live, so that we actually can sustain it, so that it will sustain our life force. See, we're not separate from the earth. We're not separate from the animals. We are a part of a system. And that system is a whole system, and every aspect of it is essential. And so when we begin to see ourselves as part of that one, I don't know, that one divine something, when we see that we're integral to it, creating, expanding, opening, growing, being. We start to see that as we work in harmony with the planet, when we work in harmony with plant life and animal life, when we work in harmony with each other, when we choose to live from compassion, kindness, collaboration rather than competition, we begin to create a whole new world order. We begin to see a world that is working on being a place of potential and possibility. It's where we can start to thrive rather than survive, where we can be fully present and celebrate the journey that we're on without limiting what it is we believe is possible for each one of us. I really believe that each and every one of us is a powerful and remarkable gift to the world at this time, and that we're all essential, that there is no broken pieces, no missing parts, no aspect of us that is less than, but rather each and every one of us are part of the awakening, the expanding, and the evolution that is calling forth at this time. So we might only be one individual in the midst of 8 billion, but every one has a voice. And each one of us can do what is ours to do. We don't need to do any more than that or any less than that. We just need to be ourselves. And in doing that, we create an energy, a vibration that actually lifts all of humanity into a greater place of awareness, greater place of acceptance. And that's when the world begins to work a little more positively, a little more lovingly. It's time to shift. It's time to shift. Take your spiritual practice to the next level. Make it as important to your day as having breakfast or dinner, knowing that every day we create a new reality. Thank you. All right, well, we have got a couple of announcements. Let me see if I can make the slideshow work. Go. So the let me go here. Everything's in the way. I'm used to Deja doing this, so it's a whole new thing for me. Slideshow, play from start. Okay, so the first thing here is that we have a course starting up, Spiritual Economics. That's on Thursday, beginning next week. It's an 8-week class, really a really great class. It's one that I'm sure you'll really enjoy. And Eric Butterworth, who is the writer of this, talks about how each one of us is a part of the whole, and that as we come to terms with living from our wholeness, we begin to create not only financial freedom, but health and vitality, loving relationships, and we create a life that's really quite beautiful and honoring in all ways. So this starts on April the 13th. It's a Thursday night at 6:30 and runs for 8 weeks. We also have a class starting in May, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. And this is a 5-week experience of transformation. It's really a metamorphosis of health and wealth, relationship, career. Again, it just takes us a little bit deeper into learning who we are and what it is that we bring to the earth at this time. And you can register through these classes through revb@cslonthelake.com. My Joy Show runs every Friday at 3 p.m. And this week I have Reverend Patricia Zogar, who is the president of the Unity Canada Board of Directors, and a really wonderful, remarkable person, has a ministry on Vancouver Island, and is going to be a great conversation with her. Come this week, Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Spirit Cafe. Now, Spirit Cafe, of course, runs every Wednesday at noon. Courageous conversations for changing times. And this week we have Mel Horvath on, and she's going to be talking about endings. So the things that change or move or altered as a result of new things coming forth. It'll be really great. And my podcast, Healing Revealed, you can find it on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, wherever you find great podcasts. I invite you to check it out. I think I've got 3 or 4 episodes up, and I'm adding to them every week. So check out the podcast. And of course, like always, we ask for your generous contributions of this ministry to keep us rolling and moving. And so anything that you choose to donate, of course, all donations are tax deductible. So we're always grateful for that. So I invite you can send your gifts via e-transfer to admin@cslonthelake.com, or you can go to our website, cslonthelake.com, and hit the give link. All right, well, as we come to the end, I invite you to stick around after the service for conversation if you like, and let us join together in consciousness as we close this evening's service. So I breathe, I relax, and I acknowledge that there is one power: omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence, all powerful, all knowing, everywhere present. I accept that it's right here where I am, that it is being me, and that the life that I live, the journey that I walk, is an expression of wholeness and possibility. That I move forward with love and gratitude, knowing that I am a co-creator with the universe, that my life is not by accident, but actually on purpose. Acknowledging that, allowing myself to surrender, to let go, to let in, to allow, I begin to experience life in a new way with greater harmony, peace, and love. So I'm grateful for this time together, grateful for the journey of possibility, celebrating and rejoicing in all that is or will be. I take all of these ideas and I release them into the law of mind action. It is done. All is well. And so it is.